All right. This is a Q&A, Patreon Q&A, patreon.com/CU podcast. Someone was complaining that we were pushing it every 2 minutes when we mentioned it like once or twice per podcast in the comments. It was really weird. It's like people can complain about anything. But anyway, Ian has his weekly writings on there.
Suck their shit out of their own asshole for all I
They
care.
could do that. That's okay. That's not part of the Patreon.
Sorry, that's not.
You get the full video. The full video podcast is available. Ian has writing that he puts up when I nag him. We also have Ian's monthly hangouts on there, and we have the poll topics.
We have the poll topic.
This died a death. Third place, NES puzzle game discussion, 17%.
It's dead.
Your dream is done, Ian. Second place, 25%. If all game genres would disappear, which one would you save? 25%. Number one at 58%. What games are better on the console versus the arcade? That was my idea for that topic. Ian, take it away.
It's a nice one. So I've got two.
Thanks,
I've got two. My first is Contra. Contra in the arcade.
A little away from the mic, Ian.
Contra in the arcade is not nearly as much fun as Contra on the NES.
Not as smooth.
No, I was talking to...
Doesn't play as well.
I think it was my buddy Lincoln or someone else. But
has a vertical screen. You can't see anything.
Right. The vertical screen is nice for the vertical levels.
Nah.
But honestly, it's better to just bar it off on the side like it does on the home version for the taller levels. Also, the controls are just... The thing about Contra that's so great is...
So many things great about Contra.
Yes, but the controls being as crisp as they are is probably the best part.
Yes,
because you wouldn't play that game over and over again if you felt like the controls were unfair.
No.
The fact that the controls are tight and you feel like you're in control at all times when you're controlling the character, when you die, it's easy for you to say, I fucked up. So the game's hard, but you don't feel like it's working against you in any way.
Yes, all the deaths are fair.
Yeah.
If you die, you screwed up. I mean, there's a couple little things where enemies might like spawn in a weird place as you jump, but that's rare, So yeah.
And the other one for me, there's a ton of them. This is a great topic. I just wish I could think of more off the top of my head.
I'm going to go through
Gunsmoke. Gunsmoke is one of mine as well.
That's not a bad arcade game.
It's not a bad arcade game, but I do like the home version a lot.
Yeah, there's a slight RPG elements. When you buy the items and things, you get the wanted poster that you build up for. You get the horse. There's a horse in the arcade, but you can buy it. It's fun.
It's there to stretch stuff out a little bit, but I like it.
I'm looking at a certain NES Guide app, which is getting a massive overhaul, by the way. Oh, we're going to talk about the app in the future. I've been biting my own tongue in the past year wanting to talk about the app. Anyway, okay. Which ones are better for me? I'm going to start off with one that came to mind was the Tengen version of Pac-Man. Miss Pac-Man. The Tengen version of Miss Pac-Man's a really good game.
Specifically the Genesis one.
And the NES one. They have all the same shit on it. So you have multiplayer modes. You have co-op modes,
random
mazes, weird ass shit that I can't even. I gotta look at the review in a certain NES guidebook to say. But they went.
You can turn the boost hack on.
They went above and beyond. They said we have a Pac-Man game, which is just a maze game, right? So let's just throw all this shit in that we can throw in. We'll just throw it at you, whether or not you want it, until you realize you want it. I mean, seriously, that's how the game is.
Yeah.
So that to me is a standout where. It's like, playing a first generation arcade game isn't a big deal on a console usually. Like you play Galaga on the NES and it's Galaga, who cares? But Miss Pac-Man is above and beyond. Of course, the Namco version, they just stripped out all the cool stuff because I don't know why. That's the first one. Super Off-Road on the Super Nintendo is really good because they doubled the amount of stages for it. The amount of race tracks. So without looking, Super Off-Road in the arcade, which is a great game, Super Off-Road maybe has, 6 different races? 6 different tracks, something like that. And then they reverse how they go. There is at least, I think, 10 to 12 on the Super Nintendo without looking. And that's one of the upcoming games I got to review for the guidebook. So I'm looking forward. I'm trying to keep some of the good ones near the end where I'm like, I'm going to enjoy this. I got all the WF games out of the way. I got those out first.
Nice.
Let's see what else. What else is better on a console? You want to say even Tetris? You like Tetris better on the console?
No.
Or on the handheld?
No. I mean, it's great versions on there, but the arcade version's great with its 2 players simultaneous.
What's not better? Ikari Warriors is definitely not better.
No.
That's definitely going in the opposite direction. I'm going out of steam here. I'm trying to look at some of these games here and see what's better. I'm trying to think of any of those Atari games from that I love. Rampart is worse on the Super Nintendo, just as good on the NES with poorer graphics, but it's the same game.
I was thinking about that, but it's not better.
It's the same game. Any shooters that are better? There's got to be some shooters that are better on a console with more options.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. There was actually one that I was thinking about on the NES, and Atomic Robo Kid. That's not on the NES. That's on the Genesis. Domestic. It got released, and it was released on the PC Engine. And all three versions are good, but I would argue that the home conversions are better than the arcade conversions. Arcade conversions look a little bit better, but the game just plays better.
I got one, Castlevania.
Sure. I mean,
Rygar. Usually, the arcade games that became NES games that were like the action platformers were pretty straightforward.
Definitely Rygar.
Because they were limited in terms of the time and they wanted people to die quickly. Rygar is a standard arcade game that it's okay, but on the NES, it's a whole adventure where you go and do whatever the hell you want, and
if you really want to compare the two, both games bearing the name Ninja Gaiden. The NES one was way better than the
they're different genres, entirely. Ninja Gaiden is originally a beat 'em up. It's fine. It's a fine beat 'em up. But yeah, Ninja Gaiden on the NES is, I would say, better. Hell, fine. Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
The VS version is not as good as a NES one. It just doesn't feel as right. Well, it doesn't feel as right playing with a joystick, platform playing with a joystick like that. Yeah, some of those NES games are better on Nintendo games. First party are better on there. Not the Play Choice ones. The VS ones are different usually. I forgot about Rygar. That's a huge one. That's a monumentally better game. Mm-hmm. Then again, in people's defense, Castlevania I never really saw in the U.S. as an arcade machine, as a standalone. I know it exists, but I haven't personally seen it.
Yeah, but it's not Castlevania 1. It's a completely different thing. It has a different name.
It's Castlevania though. Okay. You're whipping shit.
All right.
You're gonna what?
It has a different name. It's not comparing 1 to 1.
Castlevania arcade game. You're trying to tell me it's a different game? Haunted Castle.
Yeah.
That's what it was called.
Yeah, it's a different game.
Okay, let's look it up. How much different is Haunted Castle here? That's Castlevania. It looks more like Castlevania 4, actually, in terms of the graphics.
Okay, but it's not Castlevania.
Fuck, you look like Simon Belmont, you're whipping shit. It's fucking Castlevania. It's like the Ninja Gaiden difference. Ninja Gaiden's kind of a different...
That's why I said it was a stretch.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, Ian. God, you're really getting sassy with this podcast. You book shamed me before for playing games for the review book. You're being sassy.
I'm just saying it's not the same as comparing Gunsmoke to Gunsmoke or Contra to Contra or Super Off-Road to Super Off-Road.
Oh, God.
So
arcade games aren't allowed to have different names from the console version. Like that's so unheard of.
It's a completely different game.
Yeah, Rygar is a completely different game.
Yes.
It's just named the same. It's the same difference.
Right, but Castlevania is not called Castlevania.
Holy shit, it's Castlevania.
All right, bud.
Is Haunted Castle just Castlevania with a different name in the arcade? Let the viewers decide that. Holy shit.
We'll let the viewers decide that.
Oh my God.
This is going to work as well for you as Trump, Pelosi, and Schumer.
Oh, yeah. That was an interesting meeting. I have people in the comments, is this going to end my career? The Haunted Castle is Castlevania.
Everything we do is a career ender.
Jeez, God.
Ending careers 1 minute at a time.
Every podcast. Careers ended 145 times, plus live appearances.